Internal discipline is the type of discipline that helps a child learn to focus and stick to a task until it's finished. This discipline does not just come from setting boundaries and telling children what to do or teaching them what to do, but instead it develops out of experiences and nurturing relationships with caregivers. One of Dr. Stanley Greenspan's colleagues and friends, Dr. Brazelton, said that the goal of discipline is self-discipline. And this is what we're talking about. Learning to focus and pay attention actually begins as a social capacity. It is not something we do as task-oriented. It's something we learn through interactions and exchanges with our caregivers that happen over longer and longer periods of time in more and more back and forth reciprocal interactions. The more we were able to focus on the look on a parent's face, the sound of their voice, the movements of their body, the more we were actually learning to take in information, organize it, and understand it, and thus respond to it. And the longer these exchanges go with more information, more signaling, more creativity, more problem solving, the more we learn to focus and follow through. However, internal discipline isn't just as simple as social interactions. Internal discipline actually comes from those relationships that are built on social interactions that allow us to feel safe and secure in exploring our own pursuits. And not only exploring the things we're interested in, but actually feeling comfortable and safe in following through on our own idea sets. For example, if a child wants to dig a hole in the garden, well, as long as they're not digging up flowers and plants, perhaps we allow them to do it within reason. We help them create a safe space. We help them understand where the boundaries are. But we encourage them to follow their pursuit until they dig to the depth or build the pile of mud that they're looking to achieve. If we interrupt their pursuits, if we shut down their creative ideation and what they would like to pursue, then unfortunately, many of their ideas that they could eventually follow through on are being interrupted and actually not nurtured by the caregiver they're looking for in order to help them develop that internal discipline, focus, and follow through. So whether we as the caregiver are fully present during a game of peekaboo or tickles or chase with our young infant, or whether our older child is pursuing something around the house, it's important that we provide them with the feedback, support, acknowledgement, and safety and guidelines to help them feel that their ideas are acknowledged, that someone is not going to come and interrupt them or stop them or prevent them, again, as long as it's within health and safety guidelines, and that this encouragement and support being provided by the adults in our lives actually allows us to feel safe and secure in following through with these plans that we're coming up with. However, without feedback, without acknowledgement from the adult, sometimes we go too far, sometimes we do the wrong thing, and unfortunately then after the fact, we might feel scared, we might feel like we've done something bad in response to trying to follow through our own plan and show some of that internal discipline. So it's important that we be given some of that independence for our own pursuits, but also being provided feedback and acknowledgement from the caregivers in our lives that give us a sense of security and safety when doing it. In addition to attending to our caregivers and connecting with them at an emotional level, true engagement, and getting some of that basic feedback early in life, one of the most important things in order to develop this internal discipline is the ability to stick with the process and make sure that even when challenges arise, we are able to problem solve them and work through them. And this isn't just problem solving, but instead what we call something of social problem solving, meaning how do we navigate a problem that involves people? This requires a higher level of thinking, planning, and communication versus more just traditional problem solving that requires manipulating the space around us oftentimes. Also, later in life, many of the challenges that arise are with people. They are social challenges, someone disagreeing with us, someone contradicting us. It is these moments in which it's easy to avoid, withdraw, or shut down instead of following through. This social problem solving develops when a child early in life has an interest and they need to solve a problem associated with that interest. They could want a cookie from the cabinet, or they could want help fixing one of their toys. In either case, are they able to use multiple steps and a social connection in order to solve this problem? Are they able to take mom or dad by the hand and point to the cabinet? Are they able to ask them for help in terms of fixing their toy? And then are they able to explain what the problem is or show it with gestures in order to achieve their goal? Are they sticking with it even if the parent doesn't fully understand? It's these moments that can sometimes be simple problems with only a few steps, or what's even more important, the more challenging moments that require many steps and possibly even what we call creative problem solving and adaptability, where the first thing we try doesn't work. Do we try a second or a third solution? Do we work around the barrier? Do we work through it? All of these abilities happen early in life. They begin with simple steps of pulling mommy's hand from her face to find it during a game of peekaboo, and progress when we're playing chase or hide and seek or some other version of these games where a child has to use multiple steps of social interaction to achieve a goal or solve a problem. Eventually, as we develop more language and ideation and symbolism, we see that it's not just about physical and gestural communication and pointing and grabbing and pushing and pulling, but truly planning out cognitively the steps in order to achieve our goal. What am I going to do first, second, and third? How am I going to get this person's attention that I want to play with? How am I going to solve this problem that I'm having at school, etc.? But our ability to have an idea, come up with a plan, and execute that plan, and even adapt and adjust that plan as we're going through it, is what is required in order to develop this follow-through and focus. If we don't know how to adapt when you run into a barrier, even if we've come up with an effective plan, sometimes we give up. Sometimes we abandon the process. Sometimes we shut down or rev up. So it's important that we have each of these skills that allows us to develop this internal discipline, not just focus on discipline itself. Discipline in terms of self-discipline is actually a manifestation or an outcome that we achieve through nurturing these other developmental capacities. And if these developmental capacities are not solidified and mastered by a certain age, typically we see challenges with internal discipline, challenges with follow-through, challenges with focus.